Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. What you're looking at is our usual start point. It's just covered up in 20 ratcheting wrenches, sized 1/4 through 1.5 inch, 0.250 to 1.50. Just insanely good deal. Yeah, I put these on like a 90% off clearance. We snagged them $189. For 20, do the math, that's less than $10 a wrench. That is crazy because again, they are ratcheting wrenches. But 20, that's a lot, right? You know, typically you've got, you know, like 7, 8, 10, 12, 13 piece wrench sets, and you get some wrench racks, you know, that go up to like 15 or so. Well, I was sitting here and I was thinking, man, you know, what do I do? Just lay these out? Do we like put them in a widget? What would be good? I kind of want to put these in the orange service cart we've been building out. And if you did not know, most of what I do, I know it's shocking, most people aren't like this, is old school SAE. I'm into old Mopars, right? So SAE is what I use at work. It's 100% SAE outside of like freak random things that come in. So the situation called for a 20. That's what we would need, is a 20-piece wrench rack. And it's a situation where I was like, you know, I've seen some in the past and it's always like, man, you know, it's just wasted space. What would I do? You know, I either fill the top or fill the bottom, and then you've got desolation, you know, and you'd have to snip it. But if you do that, you lose structure. And ultimately, kind of what I came up with, I was looking for an orange wrench rack because it's going to go, if it fits and lines up like I want it to, it'll go in our orange 34-inch Master Tech from Harbor Freight. And I came across a place I'd never heard of called Hall Designs. And it's anytime I do that, you know, you're sort of like, oh, sweet, you know, how did I not know this exists? And then you get into the thing where you question yourself and you're like, huh, is this a legit place? Is it reputable? Like, who has these? Does it really exist? And so, you know, you kind of go through the avenues, you find it on Amazon. You see some pictures, there's a couple reviews, and you think, well, I guess it's, you know, somewhat real. And ultimately, what sealed the deal for me, I will try to remember to link his channel, but it was One Mechanic Dave. And he actually had a video where he had a Hall's wrench rack. And I thought, well, it's real and he didn't get screwed. We're going to town with it. So that was the same thing with KC Tool. And I was like trying to find where to get, you know, Wiha screwdrivers back in the day. That's how I discovered German Tool Reviews channel. And it was like, well, that guy bought from him and didn't get shafted, so I guess we'll try it too. And you know, there we are 76 tool hauls later. But I have not opened this, I've not played with it. This could be a total, just absolute train wreck. These may not fit, they might not fit well. It might fit part of the set, not all of the set. I believe, based on, I believe it's Craig Hall, I believe based on his designs, he's a snap-on guy, and so he kind of sets everything up for snap-on. And so if these were snap-on wrenches, I would feel confident. They're not, so I would assume it will work, but I'm not sure. But I've not opened this because I wanted to showcase the box. If you work in shipping, if you have your own small business, if you got a huge business, if you are invested in your business, there is something people take for granted, and that is boxes. You hear me talk about this all the time with packaging and stuff. Boxes are insanely expensive. Just recently I ran out of my 9x9x13s at work, and I went to have them printed off, and the company sold out. No one tells you these things. Like, you use them all the time, they're local, and they just get bought out, and you're like, okay, well, where's Darren, you know? It's like, who am I talking to again? And they're like, oh, he doesn't work here anymore, you know? It's like, well, you know, we got bought out, you know, in February. And you're like, oh, well, no one told us. And long story short, like, I mean, not only do they charge a ton of money, but they have like insane minimums. You know, like if you're a small business and you're doing something like this, you don't know how many you're going to ship, and you were told you had to buy like, I can't remember, it was 2,500, or I've been told with some of my boxes it's like 20,000, and it's like, good Lord. You know, and the sad thing is, even though boxes fold, they still take up a lot of space, and they're also pretty heavy collectively, right? So that's why I actually admire this. Number one, he's got packaging tape, which looks super cool. A lot of companies will just use a standard brown or white box, and they'll do packing tape, and it's kind of because printing your own box is insanely expensive, okay? But what he has here, and this is printed, this isn't a tape or, you know, an adhesive label or anything, but he's got a wrench rack. This is a standard V slot. Same thing up here. You got a black one. It's sort of upside down. If we come here to the side, if I can get this over here without knocking water off, you got the Hall Designs logo. Over here, you got Made in USA, and yes, this sucker is made in the USA. Flipping it this direction, you've got a Sublime, well, I guess some of you would call that just green, but to me it's Sublime, Jumbo wrench rack, and you've got the Craig, is written across H there, Hall Designs on his tape. Really nice job he did there. Again, the guy might be a mass. I mean, he might sell a ton of these. I legitimately don't know, but it's not something I was, well aware of before actually looking for this item. So what I have to do now is try to find the splits. There she is. Again, the reason there's that ugly brown spot, that's where the shipping label was, and it was one of those labels that did not want to come off. So I had to do what I had to do and kind of rip the card apart. But right here, I'm flipping this sucker up. Oh yeah. So I will tell you right now what this is a 20 slot, but what's special about this 20 slot, you'll note they're typically in a V configuration. You're like, yeah, that's a V. It's kind of a V, but it's an offset V, and this is something that I don't see very often. And this is not plastic either, this is metal, so we'll prove that with a magnet here in a little bit. But this is a 20 slot offset wrench rack, and what that's going to allow us to do is sort of free up some space. So let's go ahead and get it out. We'll set the box aside again. If you know, you know the prices of those boxes and stuff, so that's why I take the time when I see them. I don't care if I buy like a screwdriver, some random guy, off eBay. If it's a good box, I'm probably going to include it in the video. But right here we go, man. This feels really good in hand. That's a sticker right there. It's not like a printing or anything. Check it out. Flipping it around, it looks like you could run a screw right there if you wanted to hang this. That's kind of a small deal. You might consider, like drilling your own holes if you were to try to wall mount this. I guess it would work. We'll just grab the 11/16 here. And if I had enough space and we could do this right. Yeah, I wouldn't really want to do that. I don't think we will. But what we do want to do is see if this thing will work with these wrenches all the way. So what I will try to do, and this is not an ideal setup by any stretch of the imagination, this would be my top slot, and it would be the 1.5 inch, and it's going to hold it. So this is super awkward. I've got a rally gauge cluster back there. I don't want to punch in the tack. I've got the open end extending past the tripod. If I can find, there actually is the quarter. I mean, the 20 of them takes up a lot of space here, so it's a good sign that our quarter and the 1.5 inch both seem to fit the slots. The question will simply be, does everything else fit in the middle? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 with the quarter. So right there you get a good look at the offset. It's almost like a staircase, a slope, an angle, whatever you need to call it to understand it. But it's a pretty nice job. Looks like just an orange powder coat. And it should hopefully match the toolbox fairly well. We'll go check that out. But it's going to take multiple trips. And what sucks, I don't exactly know where I want these because I haven't laid everything else out. I'm going to try to figure it out. I'll show you kind of the end result. We'll sort of showcase what this will do space-wise for you. I don't have another 20. I don't think I have any wrench racks to hold 20 to kind of compare and contrast with this. But the selling point, if you hate plastic, if you're sick of them, if they break off, this is all metal construction. And again, for all you like snap-on people, that's what this was designed for. Everyone else you should drop in and be okay, but there might be occasionally, like, who knows, maybe you've got like a stubby, everything fits, and then like your 7/16 doesn't. And then you jump up and at 9/16 it starts again. I don't know. That's going to be something you'll have to investigate. We will be able to confirm these Wiha ratcheting wrenches though. So let's do that, but I do want to tell you price-wise, this one, it's honestly not a bad buy. Again, for all metal, made in the USA and powder coated. $29.99. The downside, have to pay freight. I think he has a free freight threshold. Don't hold me to that. I had to pay $12 14, 15, somewhere in that range for the freight. So that bumps this up from like pretty reasonable to like, I wish it didn't cost that much. But I will tell you, I do think there's a free freight threshold. So if you are smart, kind of like me, you factor that in. But my fear, like, I didn't want to come in and get 3 or 4 of these because I wanted to experience one. So I have to kind of bite the bullet here, pay the freight. If I like this, if I structure everything, if I figure out how I'm going to lay the box out, that's when we go back, we place a bigger order, and we cash in on the free freight. I'll tell you, the other place you can find these, I don't think it was on eBay. I did try, but Amazon. He is the seller on Amazon. However, you will pay a little bit more. So you kind of have to pick if you want one item plus his freight, and it would be, you know, depending on where you are in relation to his location. But with Amazon, I'm sure some of you have like Prime or get free freight or whatever, but you will pay a little bit more than the $29, maybe like $7, $8, and maybe slightly less, who knows. But with that said, I'm going to quit rambling. I'm going to start trekking this stuff over to the cart, and we're going to see what it looks like. Oh yeah, in terms of color matching, it doesn't quite look the same on the camera as it does IRL, but this is like spot on, about as close as you could hope to get between, you know, Harbor Freight stuff overseas and something made in America being the same shade of orange. So super happy with that. Check her out though. I had to empty this drawer out. It was mainly like socket rails, screwdriver rails, hose picks, stuff like that. I can't say too much because you haven't seen all those videos, since this one will be expedited. But it looks really good. Now the catch is, and what I kind of want to try and highlight here, my apologies, I'm freehanding this, is when we slide it over here, if we've left enough room for the 1.5-inch box end, you can have that straight and it's going to stagger, right? Same thing if you orient it against the front lip, the back lip, what have you. So what I'm going to do now that you've seen this is we will throw her down and showcase some other items. I'm going to quickly shove this in front of the viewfinder, so hopefully that's all you see. And right here, there is the orange on the orange from another angle. Again, it's not a perfect match, but it's like super close. So I'm happy with it, and I've got to go grab 20 wrenches. All right, you ready for the reveal? I did play around with a couple different configurations. This is what I'm running with for now. Again, subject to change as we figure out exactly what's going to go where. But for this point in time, I would say this is pretty legit. I cascaded this to the back. Why? The 1.5 inch is probably going to be seldom used by me. Could change, I don't know. But typically like 1.25 inch down, particularly like your bread and butter stuff, you know, messing with these old cars like I do, is going to be right here, easy to get. I opted to leave space here at the front. That could also change. I mean, it's, if there's like an oddball tool or something, you might decide that you'd rather have that there and easier access to the wrench. You might have something that rolls weirdly that you want to be behind a heavy loaded wrench rack. The sky is the limit. It just kind of comes down to personal preference. But I gotta tell you, still super impressed with the deal we got on the ratcheting wrench set, but also very happy with the wrench rack itself. So it's very rare I've ever been able to fill out a wrench rack here at the house, and especially with a 20-piece, and we did that here. So it is offset, so if we start here and you just follow the orange, pay only attention to the orange, you can see it goes up. I've got this in max space savings right now. What I mean by that is pay attention to the open end. I've got them shoved up basically against the wall. Clearly down here you could kick these back and have a little bit easier access to them. You can slide them a little more that way, whatever you need to do. But the way this would work, if we were to come in, I don't know, maybe we want to replicate this with like a standard non-ratcheting wrench set or something, you would have another rack and you've got all that real estate. So super happy with it so far. There's a couple things I could stick in here, but I can't remember if those videos have released, and this one will be very soon. Even though I'm recording this right now, Saturday the 26th, you're going to see this pretty quick. So we've got a ton of stuff backlogged. I don't want to like spoil any tool hauls, but I'm pretty happy with it. Again, for 29 bucks, what I advise you do is kind of what I did here. Try this out, see if you like it, see if it's going to work for you. Especially, you know, like if you've got all one brand X of wrench, bring one in, see if everything fits and checks out, and then kind of invest heavily. But the orange looks really good. I have zero complaints on the color. It's doing its job. This is about as heavy of a wrench set as you could put in this thing, and it works beautifully. So I'm thrilled with that. Again, this is a lot of space over here. If I were to just lay these out flat, we could kind of do the same thing, but having them in the rack makes it much easier to come in, select your size, and go to town. So with that said, that's about all she wrote. I might try to get some more stuff done out here. I've got another tool haul I'm really excited about, so there's actually part of it right up here in the top that I can't show you yet, so I'll get to that. But yeah, Hall's wrench rack, first impression, pretty solid. Again, this is all metal, so if you hate the plastic ones for whatever reason, this is an alternative for you. It's available in a lot of colors. I believe there's orange, there's green that we saw on the packaging, there's black seen on the packaging. I want to say I know he does blue. I'm pretty sure he does yellow and white. There could be some other colors. It also might be somebody you can approach and say, hey, I need purple, and maybe he'll make it for you. That's the cool thing about dealing with like a smaller company. It's probably a pain for him. You might have to outsource it. You might not have the powder if he does it in-house, but it never hurts to ask, so feel free to do that. But initial impressions here, I'm happy with it. We'll get some seat time with it. We'll see how it compares to our usual stuff. But case in point, like we could come in here and throw down an Ernst rack that's also offset and kind of just have a pretty solid little wrench drawer. So right now it's in drawer 2. I would be inclined to do 1, but I've got some overflow sockets in there from the top, and I don't exactly know how I'm going to structure this thing. But in terms of like shutting, this is a lot of weight. And so it's staying put pretty well, so as you would expect from that backside. If you're seeing this and Wiha still has some of those sets in stock, we're going to start right here at 13/16, and you're going to go up to 1.5 inches. That is what they have in their, I think, 10 or 12 or 13 piece set that's left. And we mentioned that in the previous videos, so I'll try to link that as well. But again, I was interested in this. I like to investigate things before I purchase completely blindly, and it was where I saw and found One Mechanic, Dave's channel. So if you're curious, I'm not sure how much more in detail he goes on those, but it's a pretty solid little option, I have to say. So the main thing is just that it's offset and it's metal and made in America. Those are your big selling points. Not going to get into like dimensions and stuff just yet, because again, 20 piece, that's kind of out there, but hey, it works with Wiha. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned a little something. Hope you have yourself a fantastic week, and we got to see what all else we wind up throwing in this thing. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. LoneStarMopars.com is a website. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find us all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. If you've got experience with Hall's wrench racks, what are you using? How do you like them? How do they compare to what you had previously? Do you use them for X application but not Y application? Feel free to leave your thoughts down below. I will tell you, clearly this is something that you would want stationary. This wouldn't be something like the gripper from Ernst where you would like lift this thing out and go under a vehicle with it. This is sort of, especially for a huge set like this is a super good setup for it. And it's just going to stay here until you decide to reorganize or something. So that's sort of your limitation there, is you wouldn't want to pick this up and painstakingly slide it around your place of work under a vehicle or something. So with that said, I'm happy. We'll see how it holds up over time, and your thoughts and opinions always appreciated. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, leave a comment with your thoughts. I'll catch you back here for more action from the shop.